I had some spare time and I thought, okay, let's attempt that advanced exam. I basically went through all the schooling and stuff like that, and my intent is to get the full license for everything. So, how did I do? What was it like? Based on the basic exam, I was basically prepared for all the ridiculous questions, although in some cases I couldn't really prepare for it. And does going to a drone school help you in this case? So I thought it'd be interesting to kind of talk about. So for the exam, you essentially have 50 questions that you have to answer within an hour, and you have to get 80% correct. So essentially you can only get 10 wrong. And wouldn't you know, I just made the mark right at 80%. I did find it funny how you get like this notification email saying you passed, and here's your license. And basically, here's the basic one for passing the advanced. Although that's because you have to do an in-flight review and so forth. For the most part, I would say this test is still as dysfunctional as it is in the basic. Basically, most of the questions, they don't even relate to drone flyers or with the issue of safety, in my opinion. And it's kind of funny with the questions in general, like the percentage of what types of questions they ask you, there's actually less questions about things like the drone laws in this one. It's kind of funny. For example, with the basic exam, roughly about 40% of the questions are related to, like, say, drone laws per se, or related to where you can fly, where you can, etc., etc. Whereas in the advanced one, only about 20% of the questions relate to that. You basically get asked more about questions now for things like meteorology. For example, before, meteorology accounted for about 5 to 6% of the actual total, whereas in the advanced it accounts for 14% of the exam. It's kind of funny to think about if this thing is supposed to be related to safety and flying a drone. So do things like the drone school will help in this case? I would say yes and no. For myself, I wanted to take it because I genuinely wanted to understand how to do things like, for example, if I'm ever in a situation where I need to use like those radios, for example, how exactly do you do that? Or if you have to go to the Stone Aged way, so to speak, and reading maps and all that, how would you do that? I legitimately wanted to learn that, and I thought, okay, why not? If it will relate to this flying in a drone in, say, those restricted areas, then it's a benefit. So in that sense, it did help because I learned about stuff I didn't know before, which was great. But in terms of preparing you for the test, it just seems like there is really no drone school that can prepare you for this test in general, because for the most part, they don't know specifically exactly like all the questions that are going to be asked. Now, I can't say specifically what the questions are. Like, just an example, try control finding this. I got a question related to salt water. Think about that, salt water. Like I said, try control finding that. There's no way any drone ground school would be asking you questions about that, yet that came up in the test. Or just things like unrelated stuff. Imagine getting a question right now, literally, about passengers in an airplane and how to actually conduct yourself in that situation. I'm flying a remote control drone, for example, like the Mavic Pro or whatever. Why do I need to know that in terms of passengers on a plane? I must have the strongest drone Mavic Pro in the world or something like that if I can actually transport people with that thing. With the way everything's set up, it's basically just getting people to try to be good at, for example, and quickly finding things through search engines, in my opinion. With the way this thing is designed, doesn't really relate to drones. It kind of defeats the whole purpose of doing a test where it feels like it's more for show. I haven't tried it myself, but someone was telling me, like an actual flight reviewer, that the flight review exam is actually a lot easier than the advanced exam. That's kind of weird. For the most part, it is mostly just luck of the draw, it seems like, in terms of what questions you'll get. I mean, that's even more dysfunctional in my opinion, where you suggest people to go to, quote, drone ground school, yet none of them can actually fully prepare you because they don't really know what's going to be on the test in that sense and what needs to be covered. Essentially, you can have well-intentioned people trying to train you and so forth, but because they don't exactly know what exactly is going to be on the test in every single way, you can't prepare for it like 100% because they don't even know like all the materials, like the saltwater thing. Come on. It seems to hold true still, where I said anyone who says the process as is with this exam is fantastic, I challenge them to explain how things that are so unrelated is good. Like a drone flyer in terms of safety and stuff, and most of them, they can't say anything aside from like personal attacks and stuff like that. They can't basically justify it like factually. So ultimately, do you need like, say, drone school training to pass this test? If your goal is to just pass the test, I would say no, just because with the way it is right now, like it's so random. If you want to actually learn, I suppose, topics that you're not aware of in terms of flying in controlled zones, etc., then it could be worth it. Because for myself, I was thinking before, another factor was I may need to use something like an SFOC, and apparently in the future, having a drone school training, so to speak, helps you in that application process. At the same time, to get things like the radio license, basically they did all that. So to me, it made a little bit more sense. So for those who are attempting the advanced exam, I'll post some links below which you might find useful to help you pass the test. It ranges from things like the Canadian aviation regulations, just general information about things like glossary terms I think is really useful, where you'll have a quick reference to find answers, as well as some things like the study guides for the radio. So all this stuff, essentially, hopefully you can research it a little bit and hopefully you can pass it as well. Because for the most part, it is random, so don't beat yourself up too much, because it's just kind of funny when some people just say, you know, just keep doing it, because in many ways, it is just the luck of the draw, unfortunately. There's actually a ton of questions related to human factors, like for example, how would you proceed with various situations when things get iffy, etc. And I'll link the book basically that suggests, I think with all this material, you can pretty much just pass the test as is. Now, whether or not you'll understand it and you want the assistance, I guess, to go through it, as well as potentially doing things like SFOC in the future, that's up to you. Like, it comes down to finance, in my opinion, but hopefully that helps. It's like almost no water here in the falls. Whoa, people being dangerous to get the view. Up, 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 up.
He knows that means a treat.
Have you ever seen a dog like this before?
Let's see. Oh, that's weird, eh? B, it's okay. He won't hurt you. He's afraid of you. Believe it or not. It's okay. It's all good. Whoa. That's trippy. Dark.
Yeah.
Like dark time when you can't see anything. Yeah, there's a dog up there.
Holy smokes.
That's
What's the dog doing up there?
It picked it up, eh?
Yeah.
Oh no!
Whoa, 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 whoa!
Oh no!
Oh!
Okay.
I don't know what's down there. It's okay now, I think. Holy!
You okay, puppy?
Yeah, that's why they warn you not to climb up there, I guess, huh? Ouch!
Are you okay, dog? You okay, buddy? He actually fell too. B?
Oh,
you fell too.
Wow!
He actually fell one time too, but he
really?
wasn't that high up. He was like right there sort of thing when he fell before. But he was afraid he was gonna hurt himself bad.
No, he always does that whenever we go hiking.
Oh, okay.
Really?
This is crazy.
Holy smokes. That's cool seeing people in the general public like the drones and stuff too. That's usually my experience. Funny enough, I mentioned to the person some of the stuff you have to learn, like to fly the drones now with like the airplane related questions, and even they say, what? You know, that sounds crazy. All right, see you guys later.